fundamental rights given in part 3 of the Constitution and mentioned across articles 12 to 35. If you want to classify the fundamental rights, you can classify it into 4 different classes. Okay, so after classification, we get 4 different groups of fundamental rights. Look. Four classes of fundamental rights. One is peripheral class of fundamental rights. Other is main class of fundamental rights. Third one is exceptional class of fundamental rights. And finally, implementing class of fundamental right. Implementing class of fundamental right. So these are the 4 different classes of fundamental rights. See, under peripheral class of fundamental rights, we study about 2 constitutional provisions, namely Article 12 and Article 13. Look, out of these 4 classes of fundamental rights, only it's the second class, that is main class of fundamental rights, which talks about the rights actually. Rights means, the only thing we usually say that there are altogether 6 fundamental rights in our constitution. So all those 6 fundamental rights are enumerated by a means of main class only. Remaining classes, namely the peripheral class, the exceptional class and the implementing class of fundamental rights, they actually do not confer you any right. No, but they makes the provision related with rights. They do not provide you any right, but they are, mentioning the provisions concerning the rights. Mentioning the provisions concerning the rights means peripheral class of fundamental rights simply make the outline of entire chapter on fundamental right. It shows the periphery of part 3 of the Constitution. Means whenever we study about part 3, means the issues concerning the fundamental rights, you need to take the reference of the things mentioned via means of Article 12 and Article 13. That's why it is said that Article 12 and 13 constitute the outline of fundamental rights. It shows the circumference of the fundamental rights. It shows the periphery of the fundamental rights. Okay. Under exceptional class of fundamental rights, you will be finding those constitutional provisions which impose restrictions upon the fundamental rights. So, exceptional class of fundamental rights can also be referred to as the restriction causing class of fundamental rights. They are restriction causing class of fundamental rights. Means whatever the provisions are mentioned across exceptional class of fundamental rights, they are there to impose restrictions upon the rights. The rights means the fundamental rights. Okay. Under main class of fundamental rights, you will have the reference of a set of 6 rights. Okay. A set of 6 rights. What are they? One is the right to equality, the right to equality. Right to equality has been mentioned via means of articles 14 to 18. Second fundamental right is the right to freedom. The right to freedom, and it is given under articles 19 to 22. Third one is the right against exploitation. The right against exploitation. It is mentioned across articles 23 and 24. Fourth fundamental right is the right to religious freedom. The right to religious freedom discussed across articles 25 to 28, right? Discussed across articles 25 to 28. Next one is cultural and educational rights, cultural and educational rights, they are given under articles 29 and 30. And finally, sixth fundamental right is the right to constitutional remedy, the right to constitutional remedy. The right to constitutional remedy given under article 32. Article 32. Okay. So there are altogether 6 fundamental rights under main class of fundamental rights. So the chapter on fundamental right, which has been mentioned under part 3 of the Constitution, it has been discussed across articles 12 to 35. But all the constitutional provisions given under part 3, they are not actually going to provide you fundamental rights or rights. It is only the main class of fundamental rights which shall be treated as the individual's rights. Don't you think? Here article 12 and 13 under peripheral class of fundamental rights, they are not going to confer you any right. If you look into exceptional class of fundamental rights, I will be showing the constitutional provisions concerning the exceptional class of fundamental rights. So under the exceptional class of fundamental rights, whatever the provisions are there, again they are not going to provide you or confer you any right. Rather, they are going to impose restrictions upon these rights. Okay. So these rights can be subjected to reasonable restrictions. And unlike the Bill of Rights, I am talking about those Bill of Rights which used to be, the part of US Constitution in their beginning. So the status of Bill of Rights in beginning in the US Constitution, that was, somewhat absolutist in nature. But the status of fundamental rights, right since its beginning, is non-absolutist in nature. Okay. So fundamental rights under Indian Constitution have never been non-absolutist, never been the absolutist right or absolute rights. They have, right since the beginning, they have been made the non-absolutist rights. Means reasonable restriction can be imposed over the fundamental rights. So the forefathers of Indian Constitution, while inserting the provisions related to individuals' rights on the name of fundamental rights, we have kept equal focus upon the grounds of restrictions over these rights. So people would be provided the fundamental rights, that is okay. But at the same time, the fundamental rights provided to individuals would not be treated as the absolute rights. Rather, the facility of reasonable restrictions would also be made besides the fundamental rights in part 3 of the Constitution. So rights and provisions concerning restriction over them, both have been explicitly mentioned in part 3 of the Constitution. That's why we say that the fundamental rights of Indian Constitution are not the absolute entities. Rather, they are non-absolutist entities. Okay. So part 3, in one hand, confers you the individual's rights or the fundamental rights, and at the same time, it also suggests the provisions for how to impose restrictions over these fundamental rights. Means these fundamental rights are not the non-restricted kind of rights. Rather, they are the restricted kind of rights. Restrictions can be imposed over them, provided the grounds of restriction must be supported by reasonableness. So you need to refer reasonable ground. So on reasonable ground, fundamental rights can be restricted.